What if Theodore Roosevelt won the 1912 election as part of the Bull Moose Party? For other additional context and more detail on how Roosevelt would run World War I recommend watching my other video on if he won the 1912 election as a Republican, because that wouldn't really change that much. This scenario is mostly the same, except for additional U.S. political situation changes. Now onto the scenario. In 1912, Teddy Roosevelt wins the 1912 election as part of the Bull Moose Party to be a populist third-party candidate. There are now 3 political parties instead of 2, with the Bull Moose Party, Republican Party, and Democratic Party. Conservative Republicanism is out the window as Roosevelt has won with his own party as a progressive Republican, and now the 2 parties are mad as ever. Domestically, Roosevelt does new nationalism, his agenda, and campaign promises which ignores conservatives who did not support Roosevelt as his policies had won him the election. Democrats are also pretty furious. World War I goes pretty much the same as it would in the previous scenario, except perhaps the U.S. has an even larger military that was prepared by Roosevelt by executive orders, while Congress constantly opposes Roosevelt and his party. 1916 would also see another 3-way race between Roosevelt, Hughes, and Bryan, where Roosevelt's wartime presidency would win and cement the Bull Moose's party as a place in future American politics. Skipping forward to 1920, the Bull Moose Party nominates Leonard Wood, Republicans nominate John J. Pershing, and the Democrats nominate Cox. The election would see a deadlock where Pershing agrees to be Wood's vice president in exchange for minor concessions, which angers his party, but Pershing is just a bro like that. Wood's term would also see him face the same issues as Roosevelt had with Democrats and Republicans in Congress. He would also have to deal with a post-war split in the Bull Moose Party between Roosevelt enthusiasts like himself and more radical elements such as socialists who would have joined the party because it was not the establishment and the Bull Moose Party was still trying to remain relevant since Roosevelt had left office. 1924 would have Leonard Wood and Pershing as the Bull Moose nominee. Hiram Johnson and Calvin Coolidge would be nominated by Republicans as they would see Pershing as a political traitor to their party, and Davis nominated by the Democrats. Wood would most likely be re-elected as the economy was good and it was the Roaring '20s, but the Democrats and Republicans would still be angry because a third party has won 4 elections in a row. The Bull Moose Party would also see further internal divisions as Wood continues new nationalism and Roosevelt's policies until his death in 1927, leaving President Pershing in office. Pershing would not be fully wanted by the Bull Moose Party as he was the 1920 Republican candidate, and the Republicans would not want to keep him as he was part of the Bull Moose Party now and had kept Republicans in line to vote for Wood's policies. Pershing would also not seek the nominee in 1928 and be fine with leaving the presidency as the situation would have become very polarized. 1928 would have the Bull Moose Party nominate Lafayette and Wheeler as a ticket which is a more on the radical side of the party. Lafayette would be up against Republican nominee Calvin Coolidge and Herbert Hoover, and Democrats would nominate Reed with a Coolidge victory in the end. The Bull Moose Party would continue to tear itself apart in the late 1920s and early 1930s. The 1932 election would have FDR as the Bull Moose candidate seeking to restore the Roosevelt enthusiast wing of the party while adding in some of Wheeler's wing's government control policies after losing the 1932 Democratic nomination against Democrat Al Smith, and then Coolidge would likely be re-elected in this 1932. During this time, the Bull Moose Party continues its internal civil war, where Huey Long starts to shape the party's platforms. The 1936 election would have FDR return to the Democratic Party against Republican Alf Landon and Bull Moose candidate Huey Long. This results in a deadlock election where you can decide for yourself who becomes the next president and how. Does Alf Landon restore fiscal conservatism? Does FDR enact the New Deal? Does Huey Long make every man a king without a crown? Or does America fall into a second civil war, Hearts of Iron IV style? What do you think the lasting political results would have been if Teddy Roosevelt had won the 1912 election as a third party? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you very much for watching.